right, let me get up. Let me pull up our guest, Vanessa Codorniu. I couldn't remember who she was, and Morgan was like, "Man, she was great," and then I remembered later. So this is going to be a great show. Third show of the day. We got one more after this, but if you're here on the replay, stick around for this one. If you're here on the live, stick around for this one. This is going to be a good one. She's a very colorful, capable lady. What's happening?
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. I'm hanging in there. I feel like I'm doing the dog paddle in the middle of the ocean. I don't have any choice but to keep paddling.
Yes,
So,
indeed. Yes, indeed. I think a lot of us feel that way.
yeah,
We're in it. We're
glad
in
I'm
it.
not alone.
No,
Yeah,
you're not. You're not. I mean, and that's what I think a lot of us forget. Like even when you're spiritual, when you're awake, that it doesn't exempt you from all that life brings, on the earth plane and the earth school. So doggy paddle, doggy paddle.
yeah.
And when we get tired, we need to just float.
It's good to see you.
Yeah. So great to see you.
Let me just say this real quick. We're getting heavily suppressed again. So if you guys on the live or replay wouldn't mind just sharing this to one page, like your own page, or to a group, I really would appreciate it. Yeah, this and by the way, all the shows go on YouTube, which has really been taken off because they haven't been suppressing us. But so if you want to watch it on there. So Vanessa, I remember you now. I remember your energy more than the topics we talked about. Although I do think
Yes.
you speak, I do think you speak Spanish. If I'm not
Yes.
mistaken. Yeah. And are you in New York? Where are you at?
I actually grew up in New York and
That's
only
right.
moved to Pennsylvania 2 years ago for
That's
love.
right. Yeah. Okay. That's right. Okay.
Mhm.
So that's coming back a little bit. So,
Yeah.
but I remember you were very down to earth, and you also had some pretty strong capabilities. Can you just kind of give me a general overview on that part of it? Because I can't remember.
Sure. So like so many of us, I was psychic as a child. At 16, my parents kind of noticed it, supported me, and I started reading adults. But then I said,
That's right.
I can't
That's
anymore because I wanted to be a teenager. And about 22, I started reading professionally. So it's been over 20 something years. And in the interim of all that, I also trained as a hypnotherapist, as a Reiki practitioner on
yeah.
4 paths. And the last 8 years, I've been on full time supporting myself online.
That's right.
In
That's right.
fact, really, that's the only way I would have even looked at my partner's message when he wrote me on a dating service. Had I not had my own business, I would have just stayed in New York, frankly, to be honest. And so I help people get to the core, what's happening within them, and support them through Akashic record readings, through trainings,
Yeah.
through hypnosis and coaching, so they can break free and live
Yeah,
their
I
life.
remember now. I remember you had some pretty cool anecdotes too, like with
Yeah.
with the La Familia and
Yeah, the Ouija board and all the
yeah,
things,
I
and my
remember that.
grandmother
Yeah.
doing the whole like head thing, and I was like, I'm not
Yeah.
doing that. I don't know what she's doing, but yeah.
So you made mention of the current energies. Well, whatever. I don't even know how to say that. I just know that yesterday I had a day off, and normally I'll go like I worked Monday through Saturday last week and did I think 18 or 19 shows, and then Sunday I just crashed for 12 hours.
Wow.
But today, and I haven't had anything bad happen to me. I just like I don't know, man. I'm just like I'm just fatigued and depleted. Are you?
Well,
Are you?
we just had a super full moon, right? And the
Yeah.
super full moon, so Mercury, that many of us are afraid of, but really is asking us to redirect, to recharge, to review. It was retrograde, right? Now
Yeah.
it's moving forward, but it's still in the shadow, meaning that for another week or so, it's still not fully in its direct powers, right, of thinking and
Hmm.
technology. And it went into Aquarius. So soon enough, we're going to get respite. We'll have a clearer head, but we're still in Sun and Pisces. Mercury just went direct, and we had a super full moon in Virgo, which, Virgo is the healer. Virgo is paying attention to the details, to wellness, to health. But then the Sun in Pisces is like, let's be free and meld and flow. So these oppositions are kind of saying, listen, a lot of work is coming up the next month. You need to rest, or I'm going to rest you. right? It's like
Arrest me.
when you're little and you're like pow pow, your mom is like slapping. It's like either you rest or I'm gonna make you rest. I mean, and not so threatening. I'm kind of joking. It's more in a
No, no,
love,
no. I get it.
because honestly, like we had the full moon Monday, and I was gonna come online and do readings, live readings, like to do, and then I just channeled the information. But my inner self is like, Vanessa, you just taught 5 Akashic record certifications in 6 weeks. You taught 2 full days of 7 hours live this weekend. You're teaching Tuesday. You need to shut down. And so I
Mm,
feel that after all those 18 shows that you did, all of those trainings that I've been doing, we had to slow ourselves down. And I feel that because so many of us are in touch with our magnificent, expansive potential, we ignore our bodies, a little bit or a lot.
yeah,
And
yeah,
it's the body's like job a little bit to be like, hey, lay down,
yeah,
rest, look out the window and breathe, taste your cocoa, taste the
yeah,
chai tea. So that's really kind of like what we're, and I mean, and that's just in a simplistic level. Of
yeah.
course, collectively, like we've been saying, it's feminine leadership. And now the last of the women who are running for the presidential candidacy just dropped out. There's a lot of sadness in the collective, and there's also a lot of happiness of the people who
Yeah.
are still in the running. So I think that we're all, and the coronavirus, uh,
What's that?
so the corona, right? So you're saying what it is,
Yeah, like,
but there are people who've passed away already, and I'm not
mm.
bringing in negativity.
No, no, no. I get it. I get it.
I'm just addressing what some people are dealing with.
No, yeah, I get it.
Obviously,
Yeah,
I'm blessed. I'm online, so I'm not getting anything.
yeah,
I'm also of a certain age where I'm still very healthy. And I think we do have to keep our minds focused on health and washing our hands. But there are a lot of people who live in cities like New York that are stressing. I know, because they've been
mm,
calling me. You know what I mean?
yeah,
So,
yeah.
so
I don't
we're
know. I
dealing
don't
with
know.
all of that stuff in the collective.
True. Yeah, true. Yeah, it's just like, I don't know. To me, everything's energy. Programming is programming. Some programming takes on a physicality. I mean, we're here to we're more powerful than anything put before us. It's just a matter of us getting to that point, I guess. And once one starts to do it, then another starts to do it. I wanted to ask you, how do you well, how do you connect, and what do you connect with? Some people talk about guides. They have teams. They have specific essences. I don't remember with you, but I almost have a feeling that you just kind of go direct. I can't remember
Yeah,
though.
I do. And I mean, there's teams, and, I work in the Akashic Records a lot, which is the Library of the Soul, which has been with each and every one of us since we've extended from source. But I mean, even if I don't quote unquote open the records, I'm walking around and I'm hearing information as I walk to go to get lunch.
Yeah, that's right.
I just try to keep it a little bit down. But in that space of the Akashic Records, which is the Chronicles of the Soul, um, we've got source, we've got all of the gods of my ancestors, all of the gods that I've connected with, all the archetypal energies. So on my altar, and I do like altars, I think altars can focus energy if that's what you vibe to. Some people like the altars of the earth, like mountains and rivers, and
Curandera Blanca.
right. Yeah, yeah. And so I do like them. I mean, so this is what I connect with
Yeah,
as well. Yeah.
yeah. I used to like the ritual, my own thing. I never did it with people very often, but I like the. I haven't done it in a while.
I know.
Just
And so I wanted to bring up something that I know when I was reached out to talking about conscious relationships. Are you still doing that? Are you still interested in like going into
yes.
space, or
Morgan will be so happy. She
yeah.
said she said to me, I said, Vanessa, I remember Vanessa now. I told her, I remember her now. And so, because I had went to your page and I remembered you here, right? I got your energy. And then I looked at your picture and I saw that you were engaged. And I was like, hey, she's got a partner. She goes, I already asked her, but maybe you can ask her.
Yes, and he's downstairs actually making delicious dinner for us.
There you
Um,
go.
and one of the things, so I wanted to talk about something specific. I think that in the spiritual world, there is this idea, like, how we should talk, what we should look like, what we should be like if we're spiritual or awake. We
Yeah.
also we have this idea out there of what our partner should be like, right? And you know, my partner is an atheist. He does not believe in past lives. He doesn't believe in guides. And what's so amazing and interesting is that I started my dating life. The first person I ever dated seriously was also an empath and intuitive and psychic like me, right? So at 15, he and I were doing already out of body experiences like a lot of years ago. And so
Wow.
I went from being with really, really, really spiritual, consciously spiritual people, shamans, yogis, etc., to someone who's like, look, I don't believe in any of that stuff. I believe in you, right?
Yeah,
And
I like that.
who every day gets up and tries to leave the world a better place,
I like that.
right?
Wow.
He's Turkish. He just got a diversity award at his school, where he's doing a lot of different campaigns for inclusivity and to support, and to racism, etc., and awareness. And he's just he's not what a spiritual, a very like in the box spiritual woman would look for. And when we started dating, some of my students and even friends and colleague curanderas and healers, they were like, oh, I'm with my soulmate. I'm with my, they did do that. Let me tell you, I'm not making it up. I'm not being dramatic. They were like, well, I'm with my soulmate and I'm with my twin flame.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, how interesting that you're a teacher and you've been doing this so long and that you're with that person. And I laughed. I was like, oh, girl, I've done dated so many
Now,
soulmates.
now I remember why I loved you so much.
Yeah,
Because
good. And I
you're
was like,
funny.
I've done dated so many soulmates and been through karmic contracts and agreements. Um, my partner and I fit for like what I didn't even know.
That's all
Because
that
I'm in
matters.
the records every day. Listen, I'm in hypnosis, releasing entities. I'm doing all this stuff with people every day. It's so great to walk out and just be present. Not that I'm not present when I'm doing all the other stuff.
But you're Vanessa.
Yes,
You're being Vanessa, and you're loved and
yes,
revered as Vanessa and supported as Vanessa. You
yes.
could be whatever. You could be a brain surgeon or a
You
you
get
know
it.
you know what I mean. He doesn't care,
You
and there's
get
a
it.
lot.
You get it.
Yeah, there's
You
a
get
lot to be said too. Whether you're in spiritual circles, and I want to follow up on this subject because you're perfect. Um, but there's a lot to be said for polarities. I mean, like my wife and I mean, you couldn't, and it's strange because, like in your case, I'm sure it's the same. I can already tell. You have these extreme polarities, like night and day, but at the core, it's the same damn thing. It's so crazy, right?
it. And that's what he said because so it's like we have the same values. That's what he said. We have the same
Yeah.
values. We do life a little differently. But you know what? Like he supported me to get more real about my sleep schedule. We were talking earlier about when you're really spiritual and you're in your energy and the light, and then you can run your body ragged. Like I can be like, oh, I haven't eaten in 15 hours. And
Yeah.
he's there with a plate of food, like, baby, you tell people to live better and this and that, and you help people all day. How about you helping yourself? I'm like, you're totally right.
Yeah.
And then when he feels stuck or feels like really blocked by reality, I'm like, well, what if this and what if that? And he'll be like, yeah, what if? you know and interestingly, and I do want to backtrack, so I want to share with people that I was on in 2015. I decided that I was going to meet my partner and I was going to do whatever I had to do, and I've met many partners, but for some reason I always broke up with people, or I found out some deep dark secret and we couldn't move forward. And so at 2015, I'm like, wait a minute, I'm helping people all the time. What's going on that I can't like, why am I breaking up with people and running when they're great? I had issues. And then what's happening now that I want the relationship, but they've got a dark secret. And then when it comes out, I'm like, oh, I don't want to be with you. And so in 2015, after, 20 years of self work, of praying, howling under the moon, ancestor sweat lodges, all the things, I did family constellation therapy. I realized that I was afraid to be happier than my mother was, to be very frank and honest with everybody who's watching. I got the permission in the session, and then I ran out and called my mom, and she cried and said, of course you have permission. So I got double, the inner and then my mom saying it. And I didn't even know that. I didn't know that there was a part of me that wasn't allowing myself to love and receive a
Hmm.
type of relationship she had not experienced. I had no idea. And then the second is I did a past life Where if you had asked me consciously, Vanessa, do you believe you can have it all? I would have been like, of course we can. But in many past lives, I had chosen from spirituality in the path and love, like it had to be separate. And if you think of it historically, if you're a mystic, if you're a healer, a nun, you know, a sacred medicine person, you don't tend to have families and kids.
Yeah, poverty vows and all that. Yeah.
Exactly. And so once I healed that, I met him a month later. And I can share that the night that we met, I went to the online space. I was I don't know if it was OkCupid. So it was a regular, it wasn't like a spiritual app. And I'd written all this stuff about my spiritual path. The man who has a PhD in adult education and reads everything did not read my profile. He just saw my picture and he wrote me. And then when he finally read it, he goes, thank God I didn't, because had I read it, I would have just rejected you. And I'm like, how incredible. And so he wrote me when I came home after a bad date. And I thought, I'm going to quit. I'm tired. I've been doing this crap. I'm going to get out of the app. And there was this handsome man writing me from Pennsylvania saying, I don't know if you're going to be interested because I'm 4 hours away. And I wrote him back immediately, hey, I have an online business. I could do anything. Right. I was like, I could meet you. We can see if I have to go there, if you come here, if it grows. Like, I'm free. And in that first conversation, just to share with you, like in that first conversation, after I yapped and yapped and yapped, he took a deep breath and he said, Vanessa, I know what the businesswoman healer wants. What does Vanessa the woman want?
Whoa.
Like, is that not spiritual? Come on, you know what I'm saying? Like, let's step out of the box. Like, I was like,
he is spiritual.
yes, exactly.
I mean, not only is he spiritual, but he obviously, how long ago was this?
This was in 2015, in November 2015. We're getting married in June.
Congratulations.
And thank you. And it took a long time because he was really, I mean, it didn't feel like a long, it felt like a long time because he was like, I'm never getting married again. I've suffered. I can't do this.
Yeah.
And when he asked me that question, I was just like, wow. I don't, like you said, I could be a brain surgeon. I could be a nanny.
He didn't care. Yeah.
He was, and he said to me, I have to meet you now. He's like, I know that we have really radically different lives, but I must meet you. And when we met, I mean, I'm gonna, because I've been honest till now, and you know that's what I am. I came outside and I saw his back, and I was like, wow, he has a handsome back. He turned and I saw his face, and I'm like, and then he looked at me, we smiled, we went up to each other, hugged and kissed on the cheek, and said hello. And then we walked maybe 5 steps. We started kissing on the street, New York Street. I mean, it was like 3 o'clock in the afternoon. It was the most magical. It was just this. So it was not only internal, it was physical, it was spiritual, it was emotional. And I mean, we literally kissed down the streets trying to get to the Thai food restaurant. You know, we were like stopping on and he's like, oh my God, they're going to say, get a room. They're going to say, you know, and I'm like, who cares? It's New York City. Nobody's looking at us, babe. Everybody's got their own story and their own drama and their own issues.
Oh, that's funny. That's good.
So
that's good. But that goes to show you, you know, and you know what? I've actually met, I don't know if we might have had a couple of them on, but I've met, it's usually the woman too, that has a partner with that type of connection who is not in the arena or in the community, right? But it's a like a perfect beauty like this, you know. So that is, I mean, these words are so stupid anyway, but like that is spiritual. That is, you know, that's what is unconditional love. This man loves you. He doesn't care what you do, you know. He doesn't care what.
Incredible, because I'll tell you that there were people in the past who came to me because they wanted healing. And so me being a healer was a thing for them. There were other people who rejected me in the past because they're like, I want somebody with a steady, you know, and I'm like, I've been supporting myself since the beginning. Okay. But they were like, oh, they wanted someone who was going to have the 401 package, who was going to have, you know, the possibility to keep growing in the corporate sector. And then people have apologized and come back and been like, wow, I made such a huge mistake, but it was perfect, you know, and we're still learning. Like, I'm a Latina from New York. He's Turkish Kurdish from, you know, who's been in the country now 20 years.
Yeah.
But still we're like learning each other's culture, each other's language.
Yeah. Well, at least when you get mad, you can speak Spanish. He doesn't have to.
I
He won't
can,
know.
but he knows the words.
Oh, he knows
He
the
knows the
words
word.
now.
He knows the
So,
couple of words.
so this is interesting too because there was so much disassociation in these circles. Like I got into these circles like in 2014, 13 or 14, 13. And so I didn't even know what light workers were. I didn't know what an empath was. I didn't know what ascension. I didn't know any of this stuff. But but there was a piousness, right?
Yes.
Like you need to wear starched underwear, or
Yeah.
you know you need to you don't you can't do this and you can't do that.
Well, we're taking the limitations of the regular world, and which we've been trained in and programmed in limitations, and then we're just placing it under the
Yeah,
spirituality umbrella.
exactly. And I think this is where the rubber meets the road. That's why I say, as time goes on, to me, everyone's beating at the same vibration. It just doesn't look that way. You know, I mean,
Exactly.
oneness is oneness. Separation is separation. If I'm looking at anyone, and I do, and I work on it every day, and I say they're this, most of the time it's not in a good light. Like I don't like that they do that, or I'm creating uh, a superiority
Yeah.
complex or superior energy that's not real, or you do it the other way. But so much of, and I've seen it change. I've
Hmm.
noticed it's changed, especially a lot this year. People are having their own little come to Jesus meetings. The
Yes.
universe is coming in and kicking them in the ass and saying, enough of this shit. It's time to get to work. But
Yes.
these types of energetic connections that are happening with couples, could be same sex too, because I know
Yeah.
some.
Of course.
Uh,
Yes, we do.
there's something about the 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 frequency that they broadcast. Do you see that when you guys go out? Whether you talk to someone or not, do people like go, oh wow,
Yeah,
or
because we're both like when we're at our best, or which is when we're at, well, even not even just best, even when we're where we are, we're friendly, we're open, we are smiling at people, we have no issue. Like he always says, everybody always talks to me wherever I go. But then I'm like, well, I'm sure if you didn't walk away, they would too. So he started to not walk away when people do that. And next thing you know, they're doing it to him too.
yeah,
It's like we're both. And one of the things that I admire about him is that he's open to trying things. Like one day I was like, well, I said, bye, I'll be back in a couple of hours. I'm going to a cacao ceremony and I'm going to do some ecstatic dancing and I'll be back. And he's like, what's that? So I explained it. He's like, he's like, all right. He goes, why didn't you invite me? I'm like, I didn't think you'd like it. He goes, why don't you try? So I was like, kind sir, would you join me in this cacao ceremony and the dance? And he's like, yes. And he came and, he was dancing the whole time. He said, well,
really,
I didn't feel anything different from the cacao. But I will tell everyone, though, that for that month after we did the cacao ceremony, it was like even better than usual. So, you
yeah,
know, and then I pointed it out. He's like, no, we're just growing. I'm like, no, there was some cacao magic going on. But he was willing to go, and I
yeah.
do improv. And I was like, babe, I know that you've pulled back from some things, so you're so busy. He took the class. He enjoyed it. It's like
Well,
the openness to explore.
yeah, that's good. And you know what? And that actually, that's. I'm glad you brought that up because that actually is a virtue of you cannot be closed in any department and call yourself spiritual. As far as I'm concerned, you can't.
Right.
You have to be open, and not only be open to the possibilities of the light, but also open to the possibilities of the dark. You know what I mean? I
Right.
mean, and when I say that, I just mean you can't have one without the other.
Oh,
Because a lot of,
absolutely.
you know what I mean?
And the light workers, in general, have clung to the light so much that then there's spiritual bypassing, where we don't want to look at some things and blaming the victim. And the shadow is the shadow, and the shadow is not a bad thing. I did an Akashic record training with a couple of healers, and one of them got something, and he was like, "Oh, there's a shadow there," and he got a little scared. And I was like, "Well, it's just parts of yourself that you haven't met yet.
Yeah,
Parts of yourself
exactly.
you're
Yeah,
projecting on other people and other
yeah.
situations. Like, and that's one of the things I like about improv. Like, I could be a person who listens and holds space and helps somebody, but when I'm in a musical improv, if they've already got a protagonist, I could go out there and be the villain.
Now, what does that mean?
Oh, so improv is when you make up theater on the spot. So
Okay, well,
it
yeah, I'm
could
aware of
be,
that. So
yeah,
but it's not. It's an improv group. It's not a spiritual improv group, which it
no,
says.
no.
Yeah,
I think to me it's spiritual, but
of course.
we
Yeah,
don't talk about that. And
yeah,
so with musical improv, like you're there and they start playing music after you get a suggestion, and
yeah,
somebody steps up and sings a chorus. We remember it, then we sing it. We sing the words, we make up words, we make up characters. But what I love about like exploring my own shadows is that when I go out to musical improv and somebody's the protagonist, they're the good person, right? The one
yeah,
that
yeah, yeah,
I can go out there and be like, I'm going to stop you. I
yeah,
can
yeah.
do whatever comes out and play other aspects of myself that normally I wouldn't do to try to stop somebody from their soul purpose
Yeah.
or their life calling.
That's a good point. That's a good like energetic uh process or exercise,
Yeah.
because you're right. Like we see this person that's everything we're not, and oh my God, they don't have a degree, or they don't, and we're really, like you said, we're really not owning that part of us that they're showing us,
Yeah.
you know and that's kind of where I see this has all come to now, is people are now being faced with, you got to own it all, and the
Yeah.
universe is starting to play. We might have been in like like the bush leagues or the minor leagues, but the universe is like saying you're in the pros now, and we're not going to play around anymore.
Right.
So so
Absolutely.
when you talk, okay, so just remind me if you remember.
Yeah.
So when we were on last time, I'm so happy you're back.
Thank you
uh
for having me. I'm happy to be back.
Yeah, so we talked about the Akashic. I remember we talked about it a little bit. Did I ask you what you do, how you do it?
Different times, I think. Well, with the Akashic records, we all have access,
Yeah,
but
because
that's just one part of what I
let me
do.
let me preface it.
Yeah.
I'm sorry to interrupt you.
No
So
worries.
several people have come on the show, and of course, a lot of people talk about it. They talk about going into the Akash. I've heard different explanations of what that Akash is.
Yes.
Some of it involves the human incarnations.
Yes.
Some of it's the soul
All
lineage.
of it.
Some is both.
It's yeah.
And then I've seen people uh, look at me across the screen and go, I can see this or that, and I'm not knocking people to do the Akash, because other people have done that too, that say, oh, I can see your field, what's wrong with your body, da da da.
Right.
So I'm just trying to get an idea, because I remember your story. I remember the energy of your story, and I remember it was a very powerful modality or connection that you had with this energy of the Akash. So could
Well,
you? Yeah.
I feel like so the Akashic records are the chronicles of your soul. It exists in your DNA, it expends outward. It's not outside of you, it's within you.
Mm-hmm.
We all have access to it. There's a lot of different teachers on earth teaching different practices. I studied the Soul Journeys method after being a reader for 25 years already,
Yeah.
a tarot reader. So it's recent for me, right? The study of it in this particular form. And so people approach it in different ways. Like someone wrote me and said, I feel called to study with you, but I already did this other course. And I said, well, how do you do it? And they said, well, I just say the prayer, I open the records, and then I just wait for whatever happens. I said, okay, so the way that I do it, we ask for permission, because people cannot just go into your Akashic records, your soul blueprint, without your permission.
Well, there's some people that think they can.
Right. Well, it's like me. You could pick up information, but they can't. There's a sacred thing about your own private information, right?
It's
I
like
know
you're.
there are
It's
people who think that. I know
yeah,
that people think that. And,
yeah,
and trust me, like when people come in for readings for themselves, they ask about their partner, they ask about their
yeah,
boss,
yeah,
they can ask, there's information that can be gleaned.
yeah,
But at the core of their whole journey of why they're here, that's theirs. That's the
yeah.
way I've been taught. That's the way I honor it. I believe in our right to privacy in that way.
Absolutely, yeah.
And so the way that we do it, or the way that I was trained, is that we go in and we ask for information that will serve the person, but then we open and ask the person, do you have any questions? The person will ask. And while the person's asking, they may be like, so there's no good men out there. I don't even know what to do anymore. The real question really is not about the men she's dated. It is about the story that she's been telling herself, the experience that she's had, that there are no good men.
Yeah.
So me, I won't say it out loud, but when I'm talking to her guides, because when I go in the records, I don't talk to my guides. I talk to my clients' guides, right? And I describe the experience, and it always means a lot to them. Like, for example, I went into somebody's records and a man with dark hair came out and pulled out a Persian rug and rolled it out. And then a woman stepped on it. And I said, this is what they're showing me. She started crying. I didn't know what it meant, but she cried because she said her father used to import Persian rugs. And there were many times when he had dark hair, whenever he came home, he would throw out a carpet and go, princess, walk on it. Feel how good it is.
Oh,
He's not
wow.
here on the earth anymore, right? And so the message didn't mean a lot to me. But when I got it, I shared it. She's like, wow, you're in my records. And so then I would have a conversation with the guides and be like, guides, what is at the core of her question? What's at the story? How can we heal this? What is at the root? And then they start telling me whether it's past life, present. And then I would do that with the person, right? And then I would ask, is she ready, willing, or he ready, willing, and able to release the story now?
Yeah.
If they are. And so one of the different things that we do with this type of Akashic record reading, we don't just read you, which reading is great. We also guide you through a process to be able to release the
Yeah, of
story.
course. And
Right.
and you're empowering them,
Yes.
because and Morgan is a practitioner. Now, she doesn't call it Akashic, but the process that you're describing is pretty much
Yeah.
the same thing, with the end result being, like, if I'm the practitioner, I'm going to show you how,
Yeah.
through the process that I take you through, because, like you said, anybody can get there, and it's all in here, right? I mean,
Yeah.
what you call the Akashic, all the information's there, all the
Right.
code, all.
The thing that happens is, most of us are scared of change. Most of us, like, have our own blocks. I've had people come on and, they're late, they're feeling ill. There's all these things happening. That can be resistance. You don't want to blame anyone. You want to be compassionate and kind and loving so they could release the resistance. But everybody has the ability, and sometimes we need someone to help us.
Yeah.
Like in 2015, I was already online many years and doing what I do, but I went and got help from practitioners because I was like, I'm getting rid of this story, whatever it is, and I'm
Yeah.
getting my love on. Okay. And
Yeah.
it's gonna last, and I'm gonna find I wanted to find my partner, and it happened. And I said,
And it
I need to
worked.
be held.
Yeah.
I need to be held. I need to, because as powerful as we are, the healers that we are, the teachers that we are, there's also times where it's really nice to be held.
Well, plus we all have blocks, I guess.
Yes.
Or
And areas of shadow that we can't see.
yeah. So, and then that takes, that's a very first of all, a very honest, raw, real statement. But that's a powerful statement, because a lot of the people that I've met, and I understand this. I'm not judging it. I'm just stating it's a fact.
Mhm.
A lot of the people that have been doing it a long, long, long time, uh, kind of develop that, kind of I'm here and you're there thing. Like,
Yes,
I can
totally.
I can heal you, and I understand that, but it would take a lot of guts for somebody, and a lot of honest conversations with the higher self or the soul, whatever, to be able to because we all have problems. I believe most all of us have an issue
We wouldn't
with
be here. We wouldn't be here if we didn't.
well, I mean, as far as asking for someone to help us, like, we
Totally.
don't want to be weak, you
Yeah.
know. And then, of course, there's other people that are constantly looking for an external, but the reality is it's the same energy. Like, I mean, if I'm afraid to ask you, that's a weakness,
Yeah.
and that says a lot about what you wanted, and the great thing too is you manifested it. Not only did you manifest it, but correct me if I'm wrong, but you manifested almost instantly, you
Within a
know.
month. And I mean, there was still, there was a lot to work through, both of us. Um, I broke a pattern of being a healer to my partner. I'm still a healer and so is he, but I'm not like actively like, let's do this now, let's do that, I'm like, I trust you. He's doing his own work, I'm doing mine. We hold each other, but it's equals.
But he does his work his way. I mean,
Yes.
he's always been working on himself. I mean, there's a lot of people like that.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people that,
And he's a generous, like, he's a loving person. Like, when I finally asked him, what do you want? He said, I want to love and be loved.
yeah. Isn't that
Like,
it though? Isn't
yeah,
that
it was
it?
so beautiful,
Right.
it was just so, it wasn't all the other external, this, that, I've talked to a couple of colleagues, a couple of people I know that don't have women who don't have love in their life. And the first thing that they say is like, he better be able to travel around the world and he better have his own
Yeah.
online business and he better have this and he better be hot and he better be this, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, do you fulfill those qualifications?
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, and I'm like, well, what if he had shabby shoes when he showed up? I know people that will be like, oh, he's not my spiritual type because his shoes are not new, or his hair is not cut in a particular way. Or listen, I love guys. I do like a man who dresses well. Like, I'm Latina, in my heart, I like a spiffy dresser, My guy showed up cute the day I met him, but normally he would wear corduroys and he would wear like t-shirts, and
Yeah.
corduroys and old sneakers. And I accepted him. And I was like, he's great. And one day I said, babe, you're so handsome. I'd love to see you in a button-down shirt. Right. And then he started to mix and match because he didn't care
Mhm.
about those things.
Yeah.
But he started to realize, well, in Turkey, he was poor.
Mm.
So he didn't care about the
Yeah.
outside. And now he's like, well, I can also pick things that please me.
Yeah.
But I
Yeah.
didn't pick out his clothes. I didn't do that. I gave him his respect.
Mm.
I didn't want him to pick out my clothes, but I just accepted it. I was like, well, maybe he wanted someone who cooks every night and I don't. So,
Yeah.
and so I find that there's a block with men and women that they're saying they want the love, they want this.
Mm-hmm.
Then they're like, they're not rich enough, they're not young enough, they're not this enough, they're not, this. And that's where we have to turn inward. What's going on within you?
That's funny. Yesterday was a special day for Morgan, and I was thinking, uh, I used to be in the corporate world, so I had a huge wardrobe, suits and ties and all that. And I thought, man, I'd like to dress up in a suit with a tie one day with some nice shoes and s- and
And
shocker.
why not
Yeah.
play? And why not play?
Yeah.
Like, a spiritual person. I have really beautiful dresses in my closet. Now that I work from home, I don't get to really wear them much. And I
Mm.
used to love my heels, but I also love my sneakers. Why do
Yeah.
I have to choose? And I remember he went there and he said, maybe you could get rid of some of your dresses. And I looked at him with the eyes of death. I was like, no me toque los vestidos. I was like, do not touch my dresses. And then, so what I did is the next time we were going out, I put one on that he hadn't seen me in a long time.
Yeah.
And he was like, wow, damn, keep those dresses.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, I was going to keep them anyway, baby. So it's just, I think it's allowing ourselves to explore. I mean, we're in a body.
Yeah.
Why don't we allow ourselves to play a little bit? Like,
Yeah.
things don't have to be, but I want to get back to what you were saying about how people have been doing things for a really long time, get this energy of like, I'm more evolved. And what I ask about that is, are you in a happy relationship with yourself first?
Mm-hmm.
You look joyful. Are you in a happy relationship with others? Right? Are you supported? Because some of those people who are very distancing, they're not.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
think that the reflection of our growth and our joy doesn't have to be necessarily our bank account. It can be too.
Mm-hmm.
Can be too, or it cannot be. Some people who are really beautiful and growing may have a terminal illness and they've tried everything and their guide said, honey, you're going to pass from this disease. And you're teaching the people around you to have courage. Maybe that's their story.
Yeah.
But I think we have to get away from these extremes of judgments of, well, you don't have this, or you have this, or I've
Yeah.
been doing this, or I haven't been doing that.
I can't tell you how many women ran from me in the 2 or 3 years later, and it was all perfect.
Yes.
But there was a lot of that. There was a lot of that. I wanted to ask you. So he knows what you do.
Yes.
So has he ever watched you work And B, have you ever done a reading or an Akashic or anything with him, on him?
No, the only thing I've ever done is, well, he's heard me teach classes online. And then one time, like, I had so many people, a couple hundred people on a webinar. The Wi-Fi crashed, and he didn't know that it happened because I opened the door and I'm like, can you reboot the system, please? I'm having issues. And then I went back in, and then later I told him, he's like, what? You had a couple hundred people and you were that calm? So had seen that. He heard me speak. I gave him my camera once and I had him record a live talk where I read the audience, but he told me he didn't pay attention. And he said he zoned out somewhere. And so there's space for, I'm not judging it. He
No.
has Chiron and Pisces, which wherever Chiron is where we need to heal. Pisces is spiritual intuition.
Yeah.
I mean, I told some people, I said, for all we know, this man was a spiritual and soulful fanatic in another life. And in this life, he's like, you know what? I'm done with that shit.
Yeah,
You know,
that.
right? So, but he actually supported me when I did an expo and I was reading people, and he saw like the people coming and crying and me hugging them. He's seen that. He saw somebody show up terrified of crossing a bridge, and then me doing hypnosis online. Sunday heard me that I was going in the office, and then I shared with him, hey, she crossed the bridge and she was at peace. So he knows those things. Like, it was one hypnosis session. She was ready to release that, those things. So he knows. But the only thing I've ever done is Reiki. And I've had him on a table where he was tired, and I'm like, just close your eyes. And then one time I was massaging him and I did Reiki without asking him. I basically was like, hey, higher self, if he'll accept it, let him have it. And if not, send it back to the earth. But then he said, you're doing something, aren't you? So I was like, really, for someone who doesn't believe, like, you just noticed.
Oh, I think he's taken it all in. I think when he filmed you, he watched every single moment. You're his woman, for Christ's sake. Of course he's going to.
And when I met him, his daughters had been alienated from him. They were not in his life. And he was so heartbroken. And he said, I'm hurting, but I'm fighting. Like, I'm working on myself. And I remember it came to me and I looked at him and said, they'll be back in your life before the year's out. It was 2016. So I met him in 2015. 2016, he told me that. He was like, I'm hurting. I said, before the year's out. And that's when they came in September. They came in September of 2016. They came back into his life. And there are just certain things, like one time we were in the house and one of them was worried. Somebody that he knew was worried about their taxes. And I said, why would they be worried about their taxes? They're making less than 12,000. And I walked away, right? And this is a young person, by the way, who works a lot. And he was like, why would you say that? And I'm like, I don't know. That's the number that came to me. And I walked away. Well, he got the tax information. He opened it and it was exactly like what I said.
What did he say?
He's like, what is this? And I said, you just were thinking it and you calculated it. I go, no, I was cooking something. I wasn't thinking.
Yeah.
So, but I don't try to prove anything. I mean, and then we had a moment where there was not a thunderstorm. It was a tornado. And we were at an activist meeting for some pipeline stuff we were going to do. But while we were there, I said, look, you have a bad back. You're 6'2". Sometimes the cops throw down a big man for the rest of the crowds to see. If you've ever done a march or a walk, sometimes they'll take down a big person. So psychologically, anybody who's watching, they're like, wow, they just threw down that big guy. They can like do that to me. It's a psychological game. I said, I don't want us going to march on the pipeline because you've had 3 back surgeries. And I don't want them to target you and to throw you down and hurt you. And he said, okay, I'm going to respect that. So we left the pipeline talk, but we got hit with the thunder, and I got really scared, which I wasn't used to it, to feel this fear where we were stuck in a car. We had to pull over and there were these winds, and it was like, how could there be this thing happening in Pennsylvania? And the sky was turning colors. It was like, and the car was shaking and we couldn't see. And he's like, it's okay. If we die together.
Yeah.
And then I started laughing and I said, I could see us both at the side, our bodies at the side of the road, like we're both dead. And I jump out of my body and I kick you and you're pretending to be dead. And I'm like, come on, you know that I was right. Come on, wake up. And so he laughed so hard. He's like, we'll see about that. And so there's a lot of joking. Sometimes he'll say, well, I wonder if that's a past life. He jokes.
He's on it. I can feel it. I mean, he's on it. So what day are you getting married? And where
June
are you getting
28th. June
June
28th
28th? Where are you getting married at?
in Pennsylvania, where I decided like my whole family's in Miami. Um, all my friends, well, a lot of my friends are everywhere, but a lot of them are in New York City. Obviously, that's where I lived in New Jersey. But I knew this would be the least expensive. I knew this would be the easiest in
Are
some
you no?
sense.
Where do you live in Pennsylvania? Do you mind me asking?
Hershey by the amusement park.
Okay, Hershey. Okay.
And
So
isn't
and
that interesting that I live by a place where there's a lot of joy?
yeah,
Because there's a
yeah,
lot of laughter around where I am in the summer.
yeah,
People screaming, and there's like people on vacation basically.
yeah. Are you getting married in Hershey or somewhere else?
Middletown, like Pennsylvania.
Middletown. Yeah, I know where that is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah.
There's a beautiful farmhouse and a beautiful reception area. We're getting married by a little waterfall. I have a friend of ours who's going to be doing the officiating. And he said, please, no God word. Like what he said to me is
Yeah.
like, no God word. And I
How
said,
does he?
"Oh,
How does he feel? I'm just curious. So does he? He's in that regard, he's an atheist in the human
yeah."
terms, but obviously he's spiritual. Does he recognize like universe, or does he even? Because I had an uncle, a great uncle, who was very much sounds very much like your fiance, and in fact he looks a little. Anyway, he he didn't believe in anything. Like he said, when you die, you go. That's it.
Well, well, my partner's from Turkey. There's a lot of oppression there with religion
Yeah.
when he was growing up. I mean, couples who are holding hands might get stones thrown at them. Like you, as a girl, you can't like do certain, when he was growing up, you couldn't do certain things. He's over
Wow.
50, right? And so he doesn't like oppression by religion.
Hmm.
So he's thrown out God with the bathwater. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But he's more of a Marxist. And so
Mm.
Marxists really believe like help everyone,
Yeah.
healthcare
Yeah.
for everyone. But he also believes like when you're dead, you're dead.
Yeah. Yeah. I was just
But,
curious.
but that
And
doesn't
now,
bother me.
has he? But he's mentioned maybe that was a past life to you. So has he ever had anything happen to him where he's like, like he's like going, okay, what's going on here?
The only thing he's ever said is basically, I think when he met me and we were dating for a while, he said, my poor mother, right? He was talking about his mom. And then he shared with me that his mom used to read the teacup in Turkey,
Mm,
right? Because I feel like she got us together, by the way. She's on
mm,
the other side. But so check this out. I adore cats. We have two now. When he first met me, I had like 18 plants. And when we moved, he's like, are we going to bring them? And I'm like, my green babies, of course. Right. And he said, my mom loved plants. My mom talked to them like you. My mom loved I mean, no, you don't want to associate your partner with your mom. But what I'm saying is she guided us.
mm,
And one day he said to me, my poor mother, I always made fun of her. What if she was right all along?
mm.
Right. And then he left it there and I left it there. But it made him for a moment think, he goes, she used to tell me about spirit and about people's destiny, about things of the invisible world. And he goes, and I'd be like, mom, old midwife's tale. What is this stuff? And I said, I think it's really interesting, Ilhan, that your second wife um is in the tradition of your mom who read I don't read the cup, but I'm an intuitive.
Yeah.
And so it's beautiful in that way. What
Wow.
he does say is this: we have two cats, and one of them is definitely a cat, meaning he's really curious, he's cute, he's all this. But there's one that we weren't gonna. He only wanted to adopt one, and it was the cat. But this one started meowing at me and looking at me, and I'm like, oh no, that's my baby too.
Mm,
And I
hmm.
told the lady, I'm like, I don't know how I'm going to convince him, but we're going to take two, and we did. And the long-haired cat named Xander, he told me spiritually, the cat himself told me that we've had lifetimes together.
Yeah.
He was just staring at me and I just felt it. But I never told Ilhan. And Ilhan said, if there's anything that could make me believe in past lives, it's our cat. And I go, why? He goes, he does not act like a cat.
Yeah.
He acts like a human that incarnated as a cat and is observing everything and has an attitude and
Yeah.
like lets you know things. and he just studies things. Like we have a bird in the house. He doesn't want to kill it. He just goes over it and studies it and stares at it. And
Yeah.
has never, I mean, the bird has been out free and he's never ever tried to move to kill it. While the other one has tried to tap it, sniff it, play with it.
But he noticed it. Ohan noticed it.
And he always says it. He always says it, even to him. He'll look at him and he's like, Xander, there's anyone who could ever make me believe in past lives, it's you.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's a lot to be said for that. With their souls too.
Yeah.
And
and when we first talked online and we had that 4-hour conversation and he asked me about what I wanted as a woman, he also Googled me real quick because we were back and forth and my name came up on the phone. I didn't usually tell people. I used to go by the name the Urban Priestess, right? Now I'm the Biz Bruja. But he looked me up while we were on the phone and he found the Urban Priestess. He's like, I don't even know what is that, right? But he said to me, let's take a moment on the first phone call. He goes, can you promise to not try to change me to your way of seeing things? And I promise I will let you be who you are. Like, this is the first phone call we had. And I said, I promise I won't try to change you. And I said, and he goes, and I will support you and I will let you be who you are. And I said, and I will let you be. Like, we were both like exchanging vows of like, just like, I'm not going to try to win you to my side.
Yeah.
So I don't.
Yeah. I don't think you would have anyway. You don't seem like you have it in your makeup.
No,
and vice versa.
No, yeah, it's just and I know that my stuff makes him uncomfortable at times. But I've also told him, your limiting mindsets around money like are choking the crap out of me, I've said that to him, right? Because that's a very earthly thing. And I'm like,
does he ever talk energy with you?
The only thing he says, yes, he'll be like, I have a bad feeling about that person, and he's right.
Yeah.
And he'll say,
or even having the energetic lack mentality, like you're talking about with money, stuff like that. Does he look at?
Yes, but also, again, you grew up poor, right?
Yeah.
There's the bourgeoisie that has the money. There's the poor that don't. Yeah. We then start highlighting that good is poor, right? And rejecting money. And then like he didn't like business. And then he met me and he's like, you're actually like, it's a small business, but he's like, I never thought I'd be with a person who calls themselves a healer and intuitive and is an online business. But these are the contrary, right?
Yeah.
And so what I've said to him is like, look, everything's possible. We just have to allow ourselves, and he's seen me go from, oh, wow, there's not that much coming into boom, 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 boom. I type, I create a program, I post it, I share it. And then I come out and I'm like, $3,000. And I do a little dance, and it's so funny. And it's not about the money because it's also the tons of people I'm getting, the ones.
Sure, absolutely. Yeah.
But let's be human and real. This is all I do for a living. And I do support myself. He does not.
Yeah.
I have a tiny staff. And I do those little songs and dance also for me to make peace with money.
Yeah.
I'm still healing my own.
Yeah.
Good
point. That's a good point.
Like, and
I've been thinking about the last couple of days. I'm not stuck on it, but I just started thinking about, what the hell's the difference? If I can love food, or I can love or learn to love,
right,
the good attributes of someone who has always made me uncomfortable and I never looked at the good attributes or whatever. I can have a friendly relationship with money. Why not?
Right.
Or whatever it is.
Right.
It's yeah.
And when I felt choked by his fears of lack, I was like, dude, I've been supporting myself since I'm 20 in New York City and online 5 years before I met you or 4 years before I met you. That means that no one was there to bail me out. No one was there to help me. The rent was almost $2,000. I had to come up with, this is what I'm saying. And I'm like, it will be done. Spirit will hold me because I'm employed by Spirit. And of course he didn't understand that, but he's now witnessed it. And
well, he should be happy that he's lucky that you don't have any paranormal stuff going on around you.
Well, I think I had that when I was younger.
Yeah. Well, sure. With your energy, I would think it's. I know, like you said, when you're walking that, you see things.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like that one cat I was telling you about, he will go stare at a place where there's no bug or there's nothing, and then he'll turn around and go meow, and then I go into the energy and I'm like, wow, there's something here, and
Yeah.
I clear it out, and then he goes into the place, shakes his tail on it, and he walks out like, oh, it's fine,
Yeah.
So my cat has actually even shown me the stuff in the house, so when I'm too busy in my own world,
Yeah.
No,
No,
and
that cat. Yeah,
yeah.
those the cats are. I never even went near a cat until 2016 when I left my home, and I went to this sister's house in Arkansas, and she had I think 4 indoor cats and about 8 outdoor cats, and man, they took me to school.
Yeah.
I mean, they talked to me, they walked with me. I mean, it was crazy, but and that's continued, and I've learned to respect those cats. I mean, there's something about them. They're not just animals, and the same goes for some other animals.
Yeah, and dogs, and we have a little cat, a little lovebird named Mango, who's so feisty, and he's older. And one day Ilhan didn't close the cage, and he was out all night, and he didn't die. Okay, with 2 big cats in the house. Somehow there were not even feathers on the floor. So he beaks them. He'll stick his beak out at them and bite them if they come near to. And he's so feisty because he's just like a little lovebird. And I'm like, he's like an old little war hero. Like, get off me and let me. I'm a lover, not a fighter. But if you're gonna make me a fighter, I'll fight you. I was like, what is he? He's so cute. So it's definitely. And I wanted to kind of circle back a little bit beyond cats, like the money thing.
Yeah.
I think that we all, especially spiritual folks, a lot of us, we associate oh, I don't care about that stuff.
Yeah.
I don't need a lot, right? I've said that myself. But the thing is, some of the things that we want to do, not all, some of the things that we want to do for the world is going to require some money, right? Because we're only one human. So like we could hire more people or bring in people, like all the things would support. It doesn't mean we can't do it without the money, but money brings more ease. And so I think,
yeah, I mean, everything we're doing is we're bringing into further alignment every type of frequency out there. I mean, obviously money has the overall consciousness that it has because of the individual consciousness or perceptions or whatever that we carry. So yeah, I think, well, I always say, you can't divorce yourself from any aspect of the universe.
right.
This realm is a reflection of the universe. It's set up the same way. So, I mean, it's not a bad thing.
No.
I mean, I don't know.
And
I get what you're saying though.
I
I get what
also
you're
want to
saying.
encourage people, I get people who write me, who do sessions, like 30-minute sessions, and they're like, when is money coming? When is abundance coming? Like it's coming outside of you, right? But the thing is, people have gifts and talents that they're not monetizing.
Yeah.
So how can more of that come through if we're not willing to monetize it, to create a container for money to flow through? Like money needs a nest too. Money needs a home too,
Yeah. Yeah. We've had a certain MO that we've had with Soulogy, which has been strictly contributions. Not that we wouldn't go that direction, but we just haven't felt like it hasn't aligned.
Yeah.
I know there's going to be a hybrid blend somewhere, and I think it'll happen that way for everybody collectively as well. Or it could be, the present, state of affairs, all the different aspects globally continue, and we have a huge crash, and everything's who knows?
Right.
But I'm with you. I think what I love about your energy is the individual work. You've cleared, you've attracted your divine masculine. You've attracted your incarnated divine masculine. You have your mission, your passion. This is how you serve. And what more can we ask for?
I know. I know. No, I wanted to share something too. Like last year, I did the retreat, and I asked him to do the food because he is so happy when he cooks, and I helped him a lot with it, which was a lot of work. But during the retreat, it was all women, and then there's this one man, right, serving the food. Everybody was lit up. They were just so lit up. They're like, he's so loving. He's so kind. Like he was joking. They were laughing. The presence, his presence in an all-woman retreat,
Yeah.
serving the food, which is sometimes a female, people
Yeah.
associate that with female. It lit, like the women were like, it's possible, like there's men that's willing, even if they don't believe, and we're doing the retreat next week in Pennsylvania, and we're like talking about the food tonight, and we're going to start prepping this weekend. And one of the things he said to me about the retreat last year was, Vanessa, I wouldn't have known it had I not experienced it. He said, if more women went on retreat with each other, there would be less people, and then he included men, but he said women first because that's what he experienced. Because if more women went on retreat, there would be less depressed women.
Yeah.
Like, he's like, I saw them come in. I saw some terrified. I saw their faces. They were like small, like scared. I saw them leave sisters. I saw them crying, hugging each other. He's like, this was only 2.5 days, but it's like he was moved by it.
Yeah.
So but he did, like you said, his divine masculine. He held it together because he was feeding us soulful, nourishing food. We were doing the deep work of healing.
Yeah. So is he.
Yes.
He just doesn't know it.
Yes.
So I say the same thing. Morgan is a practitioner and has been for years, 20 years. But I also know that with work I do, well, it's everything we do.
Yes.
If he loves cooking, that's going into the food. I mean, it's all the same thing. It's so cool. I hope we run across you. I don't know how far north we're going to go when we go, but that'd be really cool. I wish you the best.
Let me know. Let me know. You want to crash here? We have an extra bedroom.
Well, yeah, and we've got an RV.
Oh, cool. Yes, I've seen it.
Yeah. So, well, I mean, we're renting it. So, I mean,
Well, we could park it. There's room.
Yeah, cool. So, yeah, and Pennsylvania is beautiful. I love Pennsylvania.
It's
a
is.
very, very cool place. Yeah, very cool place. Yeah, I was thinking about maybe heading up that way if it worked out and going up to the Blue Ridge Mountains. And, Smokies and all that.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Yeah, I know.
I love what you're both doing. I'm so inspired by both of you. I love the way she supports you and the way you support her. And I'd be honored to meet you and give you a big old hug.
Yeah, that'd be cool, man. Yeah, we could have a pachanga.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I told her a couple of days ago, I think I'm gonna brush up on my Spanish. I haven't, I've never was very, very fluent, but I was pretty good for a while. But yeah, I don't know. For some reason, I feel the urge to do that, and I know it'd be simple. I could probably just go to sleep with a Berlitz tape, every for a couple of weeks, and I'd be all right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I really enjoy.
People would love to hear from you in Spanish.
I think that's maybe that's the reason I'm being moved to do that. I don't know, but I used to read a lot in Spanish, and that helped me a lot. So just getting grade school, level books, and then you just start to pick it back up. So I love talking to you. We love collaborating with you, and would love to do it again and again and again and again. And let Oha know that if you ever wanted to come on, it's not a spiritual thing. It's not like that. It's just a conversation. No pressure though. But congratulations. If I don't see you before your wedding, and congratulations. Be sure and let him know that from Todd and Morgan and Soulogy and all of the community, we wish you all the very best. Send you the best peace, love, comfort, and future. That's a weird word, but
I know, right? Because I could feel you when you were saying it. Yes. Thank you so much. The same. Keep rocking your soulology. I love it. And let me know how I can support you, and I'll continue sharing.
Yeah. Oh, and by the way, so what's your website? Because you mentioned the courses that you have, and just how can people find you?
Oh, thank you. So on Instagram, the Biz Bruja, and that's BizBruja. And I'm still working on this new website. It's still new, so not all of the links are in, but it's thebizbruja.com. And if you were looking for Intuitive Leverage program, that is intuitiveleverage.com. And there's also VanessaCodorniu.com. But I'm working on putting it all on the Biz Bruja.
Yeah. So that's Bruja for all of you Anglos.
Yes.
That's BRUJA. But if you guys don't, if you want to get in touch with her, you can find her from this, or if you want to on a replay or live, anybody can't find her, just connect to me and I'll get you in touch with her.
Thank you. Thank you,
Yeah.
Todd. Thank you,
All right.
Morgan.
You take care. We'll see you
Bye-bye.
again. All
Yeah.
right. Take
Bye,
care.
everyone.